All right, what's up, crew? Welcome back to Fundamentals of Selling. In this, we're talking about the sales script. And this is actually a brand new script. In some of our other products or over the years, I've taught so many different types of scripts, but we want to use the script as just a placeholder. And the questions that we're going to ask, they're called leading questions. So this is a video you're going to want to watch. Actually, the last video and this video, my hope and probably intention is that you watch it multiple times. Because of the density of what we're going to cover, this isn't going to be a super long video, but everything in the video is going to be relatively like on point and dense. And so, you might want to have a notebook out to take notes right now. And you probably want to watch the last video again, but the script is using something called leading questions. And when we use leading questions, what we're doing is we're creating a vacuum. We're essentially, there's different parts of a script, and you can write these different parts down. You essentially have the open, which is sometimes called setting the agenda. You have the discovery, which is sometimes called the gap. Sometimes you have uncover, which sometimes is called the gain. And then you have the close down here, okay? So again, I'll say this again. You have the opener, the gap, the gain, and the close. So in this script, it says the agenda, the discovery, the uncover, and the close or the offer. Okay, so let's just go through this real fast. And I'll let you know first and foremost at the very top of a call, I'm really anchoring in to the fact that it's not my job to sell this person. I am simply on a call because they need help. And I want to know what they need help with and diagnose. Okay, so this is the intro opener. We're going to just use Frank. Frank's going to be the name of this prospect. So I'm going to open the call, they answer the phone. Hey, Frank, good to meet you. How have you been? Very quick rapport. Rapport is not something you want to get lost in. People are not going to give you thousands of dollars because you went to the same college that they did. They're not going to give you thousands of dollars because it's warm where they live, and it's look at that, it's warm where I live too. Nobody gives a shit. It's not why they are giving you money. They're going to give you money because they trust you, that you can solve the problem, you can do it in a way that's appropriate, and that they can actually get the results that they're after. Okay, awesome. Well, Frank, I've got 45 minutes blocked off here. You have something to take notes with. Love to get started. Yes, great. Let me give you a quick rundown on how the call is going to go, and then we could just jump right in. And what we'll do is, first of all, I want to figure out why you're on the call, what you're working towards, and if it's something I'm confident that we can help you with, that's great. I'll walk you through what that looks like, and if it makes sense, then we can implement. If not, I'm not going to waste your time. We've got a huge network that, if we can't help you, we can connect you in with somebody else who can. So let me know if that sounds good, and we'll dive in. All right, so what he's really doing here, what the script is really doing here is it's kind of putting us out of the salesman frame. In fact, sometimes what I'll add to this, if I were just doing this, hey, Frank, let me tell you how the call will go. Number one, I'm not a salesperson. Number two, I'm really good at helping people if they fit inside a narrow window. So I'm going to ask you some questions basically that just kind of help me know, what are you doing? What's not working? What have you tried? And if it makes sense, we can work together. If I think I can help you, I'll tell you. If I don't think I can help you, I'll give you some things to try, and then we can circle back later. It's super chill, and we have a level of confidence and certainty. So we don't have to posture. We don't have to pitch them. We don't have to do anything crazy like that. We're just opening up the call and letting them know that this call is for them, not for us. Okay? By the way, before we get into things, how long have you been following us or in our ecosystem? The reason this is in here is because you want to know, is this somebody of, like when we go back to the previous video, people who have never heard of you before, they're going to have lower trust. People who've been following you for 4 years are going to have higher trust. So we can talk to these people differently because of the level of trust. Okay, cool. Let's just get started from the top. This is an easy question. What made you get on the call in the first place? All right, so if you want to amp this up further, you can say, what's broken in your business? Why are you here? Why do you need help? How long have you been unable to conceive? How long have you been losing clients? It depends on how much data you have on this person based on your application and whether they've been following you and how much information they give you before you even start. But what most people will do when you ask them this question, why are you on the call in the first place? What made you book this call? Almost everyone is going to tell you what they want, what's missing, what problems they have, and this helps you uncover and understand, essentially what the gap is. And just say, I can't close deals. Gotcha. Okay, so you're having a problem closing deals. You mirror back to them what they just said. The next question is time. How long has this been happening? Remember in the previous video, we said that one of the issues that people will have if they don't trust themselves, typically the people who've been struggling for the longest are the ones who have the least amount of trust with themselves. And notice how the script is tied in with the philosophy. And if somebody's like, I've been struggling in this with 9 years, man. It's like, dude, you're gonna have to wrestle with this person at the end, because they do not trust themselves to make decisions. They don't trust themselves to fix the issue. They've been struggling with it for so long. There's no excuse on earth to be struggling with anything for 9 years unless it's a health thing for which we don't have any solution for. But when you get into business and psychology and a lot of this stuff, 9 years is too long. And so usually what that means is somebody's just been like sitting with it, and it's because they don't trust themselves. Let's say they say 6 months. Okay, cool. We can get into that. But before we do, what is it exactly that you do for clients? Or you can swap this out. What is it exactly that you want this to look like? Because not everything is B2B. There's people that will come through here that are consultants. So let's say you help people get a relationship, or you help people get married or find their spouse or significant other. We can get into that. But before we do, what exactly is it that you're looking for in a significant other? We want to dive into the details of a person's life and a person's business. That's all we're doing. Next is the section of uncover. So earlier you mentioned that, you can't close deals, or you can't find a husband. Now, what have you done to try and fix this, if anything? And they'll tell you nothing, courses, coaches, whatever. This is where it starts to deviate from a normal conversation. Let's say that they said, I've hired coaches. Okay, gotcha. How do you feel like that went? And this we're going to a level that is deeper than our prior questions, because this is not a surface question. And what we want people to do is we want them to explain, how did it go? Did it work? Obviously not. Here we are. How do you feel like it went? Obviously it didn't work, because if it did, they would be on the phone. They wouldn't be on the phone with you. They'd be going out on a cruise with their spouse, or they would be closing deals on the phone. See? Okay, how do you feel like it went? Oh, it was good, blah, 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 or oh, it was bad. You want them to be able to position right here. So we're going to create some responsibility for them. We're going to create some responsibility. So I'll even add something to the script. How do you feel that went? Blah, 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 blah. Their answer. How do you feel like you would have handled it differently? There's another piece, an interesting question, how do you feel like you could have done it differently? Knowing what you know now, if you could go back, what would you have done differently? That gives you another indication into their level of responsibility. If someone has no level of responsibility, like nothing, none of it was my fault, well, guess what? They're probably going to do the same thing to you. They're going to talk bad about you. So these are qualifying questions. You don't want to work with somebody who doesn't know how to take, responsibility. All right. Thanks, Frank, for that. I'm just curious. Do you see this as your only problem? Like, if this was fixed, would everything else go away? Would everything be great? Is there any other problem in the mix that you feel like is hurting you or stopping you from getting the outcome that you want? And let them talk. Okay? Let them talk. If nothing else, okay, makes sense. So knowing you have a pretty good understanding of your problems, what do you think is stopping you right now today from fixing this by yourself? And this is when we anchor back in right here to this responsibility. We've opened up the loop right here. We've opened the loop. How do you feel like it went? And then we want to know what's stopping you from fixing this on your own. And they might ramble a little bit. And if you need to bring them back in, you just say, okay, thanks for that. Usually people kind of fit into one of three categories. I'm going to give you the categories. Tell me which one you feel like you fit into. The first category is people just can't do it on their own. They don't know why, but they can't. The second is they could probably figure it out, but they want to do it faster. And the third is they could probably figure it out, but they want a proven system. They want to be guided by somebody that's kind of proven in the space to be able to do it. Which one do you fit into? Okay. What we're doing is we're helping self-set, self-segment here. And all three of this is taking responsibility. So we're giving them an option here, but we're forcing responsibility onto them by putting them into these buckets. Okay. So some of these questions at the intersituational, by the way, you'll want to take the script, you want to change it, mark it up, change it for your market. But when you have the philosophy right, I'm telling you, there's not a lot you can do wrong. You should be hovering around in my experience with clientele, 15% is like a low, 10 to 15% would be a low. Even if you just have the philosophy and you have no idea what to even say, 10 to 15% is like the low end because you're diagnosing. All right, so you're already doing X, Y, Z. Why not just stay where you're at? This question is another piece of responsibility, but we're getting into the motive of a human being. What is it that's making them move? This is going to create our opening for urgency. When somebody knows they have a problem, they're going to move. When they know why they have a problem, they're going to move quickly. And so we want to know, what is it that's causing you to move forward? Why not just stay where you are? And people will sometimes range from there, like, well, I guess I could, I just don't really want to. Well, that's low urgency, low motivation. You're going to have a problem with that later. They're like, oh, I can't stay where I'm at. I would miss my goals. I wouldn't be able to take my kids on this trip. I wouldn't be able to do that. I wouldn't be single forever. Whatever it is, they're going to explain to you how it makes them feel to think about staying where they are. How have you felt about not being able to fix XYZ? Has it affected anything else in your life? If so, is there anything else I need to know about that? Et cetera, et cetera. The other question, if nothing changes over the next 6, 12, 18 months, then what? Are you okay with that? And we don't want to use all of these questions at once. But what we do want is, like, let's say that you're like, why not just stay where you are? Like, I guess I could. Okay, cool. Well, let's talk about that. If nothing changes over the next 6 to 12 months, then what happens? Are you really comfortable with that? Are you actually okay with that? And so we're using these as temp checks, and we don't have to use all of them, but we use them to make sure what? They're in the middle of the pocket. They have sufficient amount of leverage with themselves to want to move forward. They trust that they can do it, and they trust that you're the person to do it with them. Are you actually willing to do whatever it takes to fix it? The more sophisticated the market, the less this question will work. So if you're selling to like a Fortune 100 company, you don't want to ask this question because they're like, "What are you talking about, dude?" Like, yes, but I'm looking for who to do. Some people are shoppers and buyers, and they're just looking for the right service provider. Some people are not shopping; they're just looking for advisory or help, and you've got to vet them out on like what's your propensity to actually take action and get results. Okay. So if you do fix this, what does that allow you to do? Are there any things that you have in terms of goals or, upcoming ideas or plans with the family? Remember how we talked about the sections or the open, the gap, the gain. This is the gain. This is what they're actually going to do at the very end right here. What does this help you do? Does it change anything for you personally? Yes or no? You want them to open up about their goals. Why is that important to you right now? Are you ready to become the person that deserves these things? Some of these questions you don't want to use depending on the market. But for us, this is actually the Launch Kit script. So you've already been through this process here, which is what's amazing is we're teaching you something that we actually do, which is way better than teaching you theory. But you might have been on the phone with somebody on our team and they're like, look, the reason that you're not getting these results is because of not a business issue, a personal issue. Like, are you actually ready to fix that and become the type of person that is capable of doing what you say you want? Yes or no? And the reason we have to ask this question is because we take our success record and our case studies very seriously. And the last thing we want to do is enroll someone into a product if they're not serious about fixing the issue, because then it just hurts our success rate. Notice you can be honest on these conversations. You can be transparent. You can be straight up. You want to let them know in some cases, why are you asking this question? I'm not ducking responsibility. But Frank, to be honest with you, I want to make sure that if I take any of your money, then you're going to get a yield that exceeds maybe not the monetary value, but the personal enrichment from your life. I want to make sure that you're getting more value than you're paying for. And the only way I can do that is if you're willing to commit to actually doing the work, right? Okay, cool. Totally makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, keep asking questions. Ask questions until you understand. You're the expert. And if you don't know what questions to ask to understand your market, you're not an expert, and maybe you should quit. Okay. And the reason I'm being so intense with you on this is because nothing in the world to me is worse than somebody coming in, pretending to be an expert. They're not. So like, what questions do I ask? Look, if you went to school to be a doctor, you should know exactly what questions to ask to diagnose your patient. If you're going to claim that you can help people grow an agency and you don't know what questions to ask to understand what they're doing wrong, then you should not claim that you can grow that agency. There's a obligation and a duty here for you to actually be an expert. Okay? You keep asking questions. All right, Frank, thanks. I appreciate you sharing. This sounds good. I have a pretty good idea of where you're at, what's causing the gap, and what you want in terms of where you're headed. Quick question in terms of timing. Is this something you're wanting to fix now, or you wanted to solve it now? Everything you said you wanted is great, but if we had the solution for that and we could do it, and I walked you through it, would you capitalize on it now, or would you not? A little pre-sell. Just a little light pre-commitment. This question, our head of sales has us in the notes, separates the men from the boys, and we'll cover any objection they have before you even offer, because most of the time they're going to be like, well, maybe. I mean, if it's good. What do you mean, maybe? I mean, if the solution makes sense to you intellectually and it makes sense financially, Are you want to solve the problem now or later? It's really not that complicated. Like, is this a now thing or a later thing? Okay, cool. All right. Good news and bad news, Frank. Thanks for this. Is it okay if I hit you with the bad news first? Yes. All right. Well, this is going to sound blatantly obvious, but we've helped a lot of people. And if you don't do anything to make a change on this front, then you're probably going to stay on the hamster wheel for a long time. It's not going to be fun. What are we doing here? Well, we're not being buddy-buddy. That's what we're not doing. We're not staying in the friend frame. That's what we're not doing. We're making sure that they are in the middle of that pocket, that they don't feel super comfortable and whatever. Like, nothing's going to change. Your life is going to be intense. Would you agree with that? Yeah, I would agree. Okay, just want to double back on this and make sure you're not a fan of staying stuck, correct? Okay, good. All right, so the good news is we can definitely help. Do you want to know what that process looks like so we can get the needle moving? Yes. Okay. And then this is where we pull up the pitch deck. So we do something differently. And we do this for LaunchKit, and we're starting to do this for our upper level programs too. And I'm actually going to share it with you, and I'll give you the template for this, and you can use it. But you actually will pull up a pitch deck, and we're pioneering this right now. So this is like cutting edge stuff. This is brand new. We use a pitch deck now to pitch our stuff. So we say, well, this is a product that is designed to help you do 4 main things. And you can see there's a script right here. You can sort of model. We do focus on 3 different levels in your business. This is broken down over 7 modules. And there are 4 main levels. So it looks like a typo. It doesn't say 4. You know what? Actually, I think it is 3. Oops. Oopsies. Yeah, it is, because there's a bonus. See, sometimes I don't even know what I'm selling. Okay, so we focus on 3 main levels. The first level is your market, meaning you have a bulletproof understanding of who you're serving. How do they communicate? Where do I find them? You guys are going to recognize this because you already saw this. The second level is your problem. The third level is your solution. And then the fourth is a bonus, is the systems, the 7-figure level, improving client efficiency. And to do all of this, we've put together a curriculum, yada, yada, yada. And you can see this because there's a script of something in here. Last thing, individual working with, they're fit, they're good to go, blah, 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 blah. You can go over the specifics of how everything works. So you're welcome to use any of this that you want, but be careful that you don't just copy and paste this, because the market will know and they'll recognize, and it won't sound good to them. So you want to take the levels or the pillars that you created in your offer worksheet, and you put these in here. That's all we're doing. Is the title, and we're putting them in here. And if you have more than that in your modules, you just put the modules in here. Okay. And then ensuring success, if you offer coaching or if you offer one-on-one, it's like this looks different in Modern Day Consultant. It looks different with my one-on-one stuff. This is for LaunchKit specifically. So there is a community, there's a little bit of coaching, there's some feedback, but there's a lot of curriculum, and we do some certification as the bedrock for everything. So if you do one-on-one, put that in here. If you do medical exams, put that in here. If you do two events per year, put that in here. And this is essentially how the fulfillment works, so that they can see it and it looks like something you have actually thought through and put together. So this is content, and this is the delivery mechanism. Okay, content delivery. Makes sense? And then here's all of the modules. You can put this together. Okay. As you click to the last slide, go over any specifics and modules with the prospect that caters to their problem. So what he's saying here is that in the event that somebody is really struggling with like module 6, scaling, so check this out. Here are all the modules, but this is where we cover and then mirror back to them exactly what they said they were struggling and the way that they said that they were struggling it. All right, so this is everything we do inside of product with this framework. Knowing what you get in or what you get out is what you put in. You'll finally probably be able to achieve blah, blah, blah. Scale of 1 to 10. How do you feel about this? I'm a 10. What's next? Awesome. Sounds like you're ready to get the momentum rolling. Yeah, let's do it. Notice the tie downs here. We're asking a lot of questions. We're getting what I call loops. We're looping here. We're getting loops. We're asking the same question over and over. I'm a 10. What's next? Yeah, you ready to go? Yeah, I'm ready to go. Cool. You sure? Sound like you excited? Yes, I'm excited. Ready to go. 3 times, and we're circling back through. Cool. Next steps, easy. Investments, $5,500. You be quiet. Be quiet. Whatever your price is, you can go through the pricing portal to do that. Now it's just working out logistics. But if they're under an 8, you handle the objections. You ask them why they are under an 8, and usually they are under an 8 because of one of the 4 things we talked about in the previous thing. And that's when you have a consultative conversation with them. You say, "Why are you an 8? Why don't you believe this?" And objection handling is an entirely new thing. But I'm telling you, you could probably get past a 20% close rate without even handling objections, because when you do it this way, you prevent them. All right, go through this again. That's all I've got. You can see the script somewhere linked in the portal, and let us know if you have any questions.